Well, they absolutely have the ability to create change. And that is because we have a statute called the Clean Air Act from 1970, which under a reading, which allows the EPA to regulate CO2 and other greenhouse gases as air pollutants. A lot of us have always sort of seen that ability in the Clean Air Act, and a few years back the U.S. Supreme Court said, number one, EPA has the ability to regulate greenhouse gases under the Clean Air Act, and number two, it has the duty to do it unless it can produce a scientific reason why it shouldn't. And so this happened during the Bush administration, and then when President Obama came into office, the EPA, then led by Lisa Jackson, basically told the EPA to get going on this. And so the EPA issued a rule saying that CO2 and other greenhouse gases were air pollutants and that they endangered public health and welfare. And then the second thing that happened is they began regulating them. And so they're regulating CO2 emissions from tailpipes in vehicles, and they're regulating CO2 and other greenhouse gases from smokestacks, mainly in coal-fired power plants and large industrial facilities. That has already happened. There is a lot more potential in the system, and the President actually just saw it in the news today. He is going to nominate Gina McCarthy to be the next head of the EPA. Gina is somebody I worked with when I was at EPA. She at the time was the head of the air division at EPA, and she's basically responsible for crafting a lot of those greenhouse gas regulations that came out of EPA. So if the President were to push as hard as he could, and the EPA were to push as hard as it can, you could get a significant reduction in greenhouse gases in the United States, but it wouldn't be at the level that that I think the U.S. should be striving for. It would be impressive. It would definitely be something, but it actually wouldn't be probably the most efficient way of regulating greenhouse gases or of reducing carbon, because I think the most efficient way to do it would be through a market mechanism like a tax on carbon, but it would take Congress, of course, to do that.